Thank you all for coming so much. We really appreciate it. We know that you had the option to hang out by the pool and work on a little basal cell carcinoma, so we appreciate that you came in here to hang out with us instead. I was talking about this workshop a couple weeks ago in the writer's room at Private Practice. I'm the showrunner at Private Practice, and one of the younger writers looked at me and said, all right, you're going to an HPV conference. What in the world can TV writers say to a bunch of scientists and researchers and medical people who aren't going to create scripts? So I've since had that writer fired, naturally. But it's a valid question, and I think probably one that a lot of you may have asked yourself. And the answer, of course, is that as medical professionals, you're going to need to communicate about HPV to any number of groups, to professional groups, to kids, to parents of kids, and always the best way to get the story across is, in fact, to tell a story, whether it's in an exam room or a conference room or it's an interesting idea that I found that a lot of people in workshops I've done, they get a little nervous, particularly today, because we are going to have you all write, and they think, well, I'm not a writer, but everyone is a storyteller. At the end of your day, you go home to your husband or your wife or your kids or your friends, and they say, how was your day? And you create a story for them. And you're not even aware that you're doing it, but you're generating what it is that happened during the day, and you're trying to tell it to the greatest effect and get across your points. And what you're doing actually is dealing with these toolkit items that Chris said, clarity, focus, and conciseness and vividness. And I could sit and talk with you about dramatic structure and Aristotle's principles, and everyone would fall asleep and we wouldn't have any fun at all. What we're going to do instead is just jump right in. We're just going to jump right in, and we're going to start with the vividness concept. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There is no writer in the world who looks at a blank page and says, oh, goody, I get to put everything down that's already in my head. Nobody ever knows what they're writing when they look at a blank page, and anybody who says different is either lying or they just need to be killed. There's really no other option. Getting started is hard because we all want to be perfect. We all want to have a first draft come out that's as beautiful as this Parenthood clip, which I guarantee you took hours and hours and hours and weeks to really perfect and craft. And when you're sitting there by yourself, that voice in your head starts to get very loud, and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't start with that sentence. That's terrible. And she's a much better writer than I am. And I like the pants that she's wearing. And Jesus, my closet is really full, and I should probably clean it out. And oh, if I only had a hot cup of tea, I just need a hot cup of tea, and then I'd be okay. And it gets loud, and nothing happens, and you're running around in circles. Nobody needs that. But I'm telling you, you need to get comfortable with bad writing. Everybody up here has written horrible, horrible things. Some of my horrible things have even made it onto the air, God help me, and are there forever. Good writing comes from getting through bad writing. You have to trust that everyone in this room is an intelligent person, and your intellect and your subconscious are going to work together. I want to talk to you about the subconscious. More importantly, I actually want to work with you on the subconscious. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make everybody stand up. I want everybody to stand up. I know it's annoying. I want you to sit down. We're going to be doing some writing, so that's right, get up, people. I want everybody to stretch because we're about to do some super fun, scary writing, and we all want to be ready for this. Oh, you all look so good, and you can say that it's a yoga workshop as well. I want to put up the speed writing. Okay, stretch and work. So what we're going to do now, you're getting the other one first. Sorry, I'm changing on the fly.
Okay, which one?
The next one, the exercise.
Okay.
What we're going to do is an exercise called speed writing, and you can all sit down now. Now you feel fully stretched and ready to go. The goal of this is to teach you how to get out of your way when writing, and ultimately you're going to see that the toolkit we're going to learn, toolkit item is vividness. The exercise I want you to do is I want you to all think of a memorable healthcare experience. It can be absolutely anything you want. It can be a trip to the doctor's office. It can be something that happened in med school. It can be something that some poison you gave your younger sister and they didn't in fact die and you're very upset about that. Whatever it is, some medical experience that happened to you. We're going to do an exercise that I've done in graduate school and lots of writing workshops. We're going to write at white hot speed. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm going to time you for 5 minutes. Don't worry, no one is going to see your paper. You're never going to have to tell anybody about what you did. Once the timer starts, you write. And by that I mean you do not let that pen leave the paper. If part of what you're saying is, oh my God, I hate this woman, I wish she would have gone away, why didn't I eat more breakfast this morning? That's fine. Content is not important, just write. What happens is you just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and things will start to come up. Now what it'll look like, if we could go back to the other quickie, is this was the one that I did. And you'll see that it starts off with things like, okay, here we go, 5 minutes of speed writing, because you're just sort of clearing your throat. And in the middle, I'm saying things like, and maybe it was this, maybe it was that. None of that matters. All I want you to think about is putting your head down and writing. Writing, 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 focusing on this memorable health experience. No judgment, no editing, nobody cares. This is just for you, okay? So if someone could hand me my phone so I can time people. Are we all clear on what the exercise is going to be? Fabulous white hot writing. Any questions before we get started? No judgment. Everybody has pen and paper? Start writing. Okay, stop writing. Well, that was a glorious thing to see, all of your heads down, everybody doing exactly what I said. I'm mad with power now. What you've just done is what a lot of writers I know, and certainly private practice writers, refer to as the vomit pass, which is where you're just throwing stuff out there and it doesn't really matter what it is. Now that we've seen sort of what my general things look like, you could see that I'm vamping, you could see there's ellipses going on, you could see that there are places where I'm just sort of stopping and starting, but I just wanted to keep my pen moving. But what happens with this, and what will happen with yours, is that out of all the blather, your subconscious is actually kicking up things that are important and vivid and things that we need to take a look at. So if we pull up this second slide, I've now gone and highlighted the sort of key phrases of this. And what you'll find is that this actually tells the juiciest part of this story. And what the story is that I decided to write about was going to an eye doctor at the University of Houston Medical Center, where I grew up. My older sister, Sarah, had this beautiful pair of light blue cat's eye glasses that I just thought were the coolest things in the world. So I decided to lie to get myself a pair of them. The doctor's name was Hill. He was very cute. I was 6 or 7 years old, and I decided I would just make it seem like I didn't really know how to see, so I was lying about what I could read or not. So he kept changing the lenses. It was getting very disturbing to him. Finally, he decided to give me a quarter and said, if I give you a quarter, can you read this last slide? So of course I read it perfectly, because a quarter, that's a lot of money. You can buy a lot of candy with a quarter. He then left the office. My mother, who was a single parent who had taken an entire day off from work to get me there, read me the riot act when the doctor went to her and said, I think your daughter is lying about this. So I had to write an apology letter, which I wrote in pencil. I had to give back the quarter, which was very, very difficult. And so as I was a Catholic schoolgirl, I had to make amends for this and promise that I would never do something like this again. So the salient points of all of this blah are those highlighted items, just words that pop up, things like, light blue cat's eye glasses, you give me a quarter, changing the lenses. It's the things that come out that are important for you to be using as we go forward. And something that I forgot to mention at the top is that this exercise that you've started here, we're going to keep building on with my other fabulous compatriots, Sarah, Laura, the invisible, and Zoanne. So what I would like for you to do now that you've seen generally what it is that I'm talking about is look back at your paper. Take a look at phrases that jump out at you, things that seem important, and circle them. Just loosely take a look and see what seems to be the most interesting pieces of information that would be compelling for some presentation, because we'll be moving on for that. Anything, interesting observations, any turns of phrase, any, if you put your age in there, if there's a geographic location, anything that seems interesting and something that you would definitely want to get across to some kind of audience. That's what I'd like you to be circling. And while you're doing that, and the fabulous Sarah Watson is setting up for the next exercise, are there any questions about what we've done, what we're doing, what you had for breakfast? Yes?
So in this step where you're trying to pull out what you said is most interesting, most important, are you talking about from like a content perspective, like what's going to make this make sense, or important because it was like something that expressed what you were feeling?
It's,
how do you know what's important?
That's a good question. It's less organizing thoughts in a this is the most important, which is something sort of the next step that Sarah will be talking about and outlining. It's more things and words that jump out at you and are things that could be vital as if you were telling the story of your day. If you were at a dinner party and somebody said, tell me the story of your most memorable health experience, which you've just written down. You want to strip away all the stuff you've written that's sort of, I think it was maybe, or it could have been, or the things that are important are, did you go to a doctor? Was it a med school event? How old were you? Whatever the details are that make this specifically your story, as opposed to anybody else's story that could be told.